What's poppin', friends? Welcome back into the Serena Kingdom. My name is Serena Paris, and I'm super excited about today's video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Think about it more of a podcast style chat vibes. I do have a special friend joining me, and we're diving into some real talk about experiences as women. So from weight gain to everything in between, get ready for some honest conversations, and let's go ahead and let's dive in.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley and I'm here today to hang out with Serena and chat a little bit about some girl things that we don't always get to talk about because we feel insecure about that kind of stuff. So it's a safe space to kind of open up and see what all we're feeling.
Okay, so we kind of wanted to start off and talk with you guys and kind of let you guys know why we're wanting to do this. I feel like a lot of us feel like we can't talk about this. Any size that I've ever been, I feel like I haven't really been able to talk about my weight gain or how I am because I've just really been seen as pretty or modelly or stuff like that. So I've been just told to shut up and that you look great, but I feel like anyone can feel however they want about their body, especially when it comes to having body dysmorphia.
Definitely. It's honestly super scary to talk about anything whenever it comes to diet and weight gain, anything like that, especially if you don't feel like you've been able to talk about that with people who are close to you. Because if you can't talk about that in a safe space, then there's really nowhere to talk about that at all.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the hardest things about gaining weight is that I really have gained weight in front of everybody's eyes, which I feel like that happens to everybody, but also the fact that like I've done modeling and acting and stuff like that. It's crazy. When I was a 00, people would tell me to shove a hamburger down my throat and to eat all the time and stuff like that, but now I'm anywhere from like an 8 to a 12, depending on pant size, because we all know how that can be.
I hate pant shopping.
Pant shopping is so annoying, but gaining weight on the internet, I've had so many people come out and say, do you know that you're gaining weight? Do you know that? And to me, that's crazy. Like, as someone who looks at myself every day in the mirror, you would think that, yes, I do know that. And it's been hard, but I have to remind myself, like, when I was a 00, I was a teenager, and I can't compare myself to almost a child's body anymore. I'm 26 and I'm a woman now, and I think that's something that me and you kind of related about.
Definitely. The closer I get to 30, the more of a shift I feel just in different aspects. And it's really hard to wrap your head around because society doesn't really prepare you for that. They really push that narrative of this thigh gap, and now we have this, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like a hip dip where you have these dips, and it's like they create these different things to make us feel bad and to make us feel terrible about ourselves, and it's so hard to live up to those expectations. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm super thankful that I've been surrounded by people that help me kind of deconstruct that, because it is so hard to surround yourself with people whenever they're constantly like taking photos of themselves, or even if they're constantly in the mirror or constantly commenting on you about your body. There's nothing worse than somebody commenting on your body, like you said, in public, to the whole world, saying, oh, this is what you look like, or this is kind of what you
or someone saying, I liked you before, and it's like, you don't even know me, you've never met me, you don't know how I am, and in those pictures that you liked me in, I was a minor, pal. I was under 18. So that speaks more about you than it does about me.
Absolutely.
And something that just reminded me is what you said about the thigh gap and all of that is, when I've done all of my modeling and acting gigs, sometimes they'll Photoshop me a little bit, my arms, my legs, my tummy. As a model, you kind of know that things like that are just going to be edited, Photoshopped. That's really how the business is. And as someone who's been in that industry, and we look at all these pictures in the magazines, and you see all these little kids who are like, Mommy, I want to be like this, Daddy, I want to be like this, and you realize, sweetie, I was one of those people. And even with me being in those magazines, my eyes are edited, my legs are edited. There's so many things in there that is edited that it's not even a real person when you see those photos, you know? And for me, that's a constant reminder of like, yeah, we might want to look like someone, but most of the time, if you see them in magazines or something like that, it's probably not exactly how that person truly looks. And that helps me cope a little bit with it, you know?
That's actually something that I really learned a lot from you, because I really had that mindset of like, oh my gosh, I want to look like this person. Like, she's gorgeous and she's flawless, from like the hair to the makeup to the body, like
Mhm.
shoes and all. And then you kind of get to know them and you're like, no, like that's not really me. Like, that's really like a different version of me
Yeah.
that you don't get to see on a daily basis.
Well, and these models and actors are beautiful in their own way, and we're not saying that anyone isn't or is, but there just might be some differences. So if you guys are comparing yourself to someone on the internet, just take a step back and realize there's clothing, there's makeup, there's shoes, there's a lot that goes into a production, and try to be nicer to yourself if you are comparing yourself to someone else.
Yeah, because it can be really dangerous when you start comparing yourself to other people, especially people on the internet. I feel like we live in a world in social media where all we do is post the highlights of our life and then we compare that to each other. And that's not realistic.
It's like, why do we do that? Why do we do that?
Yeah, that's not something that actually happens. Like, we all go through hardships. We all have some kind of version of self-esteem that we're working on. No matter where we are in life, that's something that we should be able to talk about. No matter what we look like, no matter who we are, we should be able to have a safe space where we can open up about these kinds of things and say, hey, this is how I feel and this is what I'm feeling, kind of thing, whenever we're all feeling that. Because at the end of the day, we're all so worried about ourselves. We're really not focused on other people. But we
Yeah.
think other people are so focused on us, and that's just the way we are. And so hopefully we can change that.
Yeah, and that's why I like having a platform, because if any of you guys have been here before, you guys know I really work on self-love, self-growth, because both of those are very similar, but I feel like they're very different as well. Like, you need to be able to love yourself, but you also need to know when you're the red flag and when you need to grow yourself. And I think some of that can help with seeing yourself and being happy with who you are.
Definitely. I feel like acceptance is one of the hardest things that we have to do, accepting
Yeah.
parts of ourselves and accepting, who we want to have in our social group and stuff like that, and learning to be comfortable with the way we look. And I mean, I had seen, it was some video that I had seen somewhere. I can't remember where I saw it at, but it was probably about 10 or 12 different people, and they all got on the scale and they all weighed 150 pounds or like 200 pounds or something like that. And they all looked so different. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we look at people and we almost kind of assume like, oh, they're this or that and that kind of stuff. And like, we don't actually see like the reality of the situation. And so watching that video, it really kind of showed me like what I was really comparing myself to. And it's just not real. Like, what I'm comparing myself to is so fake.
And I think it's just a reminder, you can't judge someone for how they look. You can't judge a book by its cover. You need to get to know them for who they are, and not for the number that's on the scale. And I think for a lot of us, the number on the scale is our biggest enemy, truly.
Yeah, truly. No, and honestly, I don't weigh myself. It's probably been about 10 years since I've actually like seen a scale. When I go to my doctors, they know not to say anything, and like I went to the allergist here recently, and I told her, because she didn't know, and I specifically told her, I was like, you can weigh me, but I'm not gonna look. And so she was like, okay. And so for the most part, they're super understanding about that.
That's really awesome that you've kind of set that healthy boundary for yourself.
I had to. It was destroying everything in me, especially because now that I'm a grown-up and my body is not prepared to be a 14-year-old, it's prepared to be a 30-year-old. So it's a completely different body type, and so accepting that was really hard. But yeah, no, I think it's super important to set boundaries for yourself, like surrounding yourself with certain people. Like if I have someone around me who is like extremely, extremely hard on me, I try to make sure that I set that boundary and either let them know, like, hey, I don't like what you're saying to me. I don't like the way you're talking to me. Like, either that needs to change or I just need to make my circle a little smaller. And
Yeah.
so being able to make those boundaries makes a huge difference on your self-esteem and your mental health. Making sure you can do those things, because I know I'm a people pleaser. I am guilty of it, but I'm working on it. It's a process.
And I think it's always going to be a process for so many of us. Like there's some days I wake up and I love the person who I'm looking at in the mirror, and then there's some days where I can't even look at myself in the mirror. And again, like it's hard for me to talk about because I've been told so much in my life, you're beautiful, you're pretty, you need to shut the fuck up, excuse my language. And sometimes it is hard to talk to my friends about it because sometimes I feel like they don't get it. I sometimes get told, like, well, you've been in commercials, you've been in magazines, you're a content creator, like, and I don't like when we use the word ugly, but when they say, like ugly people wouldn't be able to do some of the things that you've done, it's like you're making my feelings feel invalid.
Absolutely. And that's one of the worst things that you could possibly do to somebody. Like, I have people all the time who, and I try not to say anything about like feeling self-conscious or anything like that. Like, for example, I was feeling great when I left the house, and then I got here and I put this blanket over me because I was feeling self-conscious on the screen. And so, it's like you said, like it can just switch like that, like a flip of a switch, and your mentality completely changes, and all it takes is just one little glimpse from the wrong angle or something like that, and your self-esteem is just shot down in that moment.
Well, I think you look hot right now.
Thanks, you too.
And you were kind of just saying a few seconds ago, having a really good support system is a must have, and I feel like at this point it truly is. What are some of the things that you've done to make sure that you have a good circle?
I feel like for me, it's really just making sure that I prioritize specific thing in a friend.
Okay.
Making sure, because I have my family circle that I keep really close to me, and they mean a lot to me, but I also have my friend circle to where we don't see each other every single day, we may not talk consistently, but we're definitely there for each other when we need each other and that kind of stuff. And so I think for me, just kind of going through and checking off like certain things, like making sure, does this person bring me joy? I took actually a communication class where it talked about how it's super important that out of your relationship, whether it's a coworker or whatever it may be, you're getting some kind of benefit from that. Because if you're not getting any type of benefit, whether that's like maybe they're like there for you a lot, maybe they help you when your self-esteem is really low, different things like that. If your friends can really do that for you, that's something that's super important, because if you're not benefiting that from a friendship, then it's definitely time to either talk to that friend and say, hey, this is the kind of love and support that I need, and making sure that you can have that conversation. Because if you can't even have that conversation with that person, then you probably need to step down, because I'll be the first one to tell you I get super nervous when I talk to my friends, but I feel like I could tell you anything.
Thank you. For me, growing into adult and having some differences compared to other people my age, I feel like sometimes I'm frowned upon or looked down to. I'm 26 years old. I don't want kids. I haven't went to college. There's a lot of things that I haven't done that are considered normal. I don't have a ring on my finger. I don't have a house yet. So sometimes I feel like people don't take me as serious, and I don't have a lot of close friends, which we've kind of talked about that. And she knows I've been on Bumble recently, not for relationships, Bumble BFF for friends, because I have been wanting to meet other people in my area who have some of the same beliefs as me or want to do some of the same things as me. I'm really into makeup and cosplay and just here on the internet streaming. I love this, and some people don't take a lot of that very serious, and I think that's why me and Ashley have bonded, because we don't have kids. She is a little bit older than me. We're not going to say her age unless she wants to. But we feel like we've gone and done a lot of the similar things, and I think that makes us good friends.
Absolutely. I think it's really hard, especially because, we have almost two like we've been in relationships for a long time. And so when you're with somebody for a long time, you really see each other evolve and grow into different things. And so it can be really difficult sometimes to have friends who maybe are on a completely different lifestyle.
Yeah.
Maybe they're constantly going out or they're constantly doing different things. I know, like, me and my husband, for example, we really like to kind of like hang out at home, chat with our friends, maybe do like a game night, go out to the lake and have like something simple, like very, very simple, keep it low key kind of thing with our same close group of friends. And so I think it's super important to make sure that you surround yourself with that kind of love, because if you don't, then what are you bringing into your life? Like, what are you allowing into your
Yeah.
life?
And for me, same thing with like friends and stuff. I'm about to be a year sober in June, and when I stopped going out and drinking, I have noticed my friends circle has stopped inviting me places, stopped inviting me, and it's not like I won't go out to the bar or anything, because I will. I'll go hang out. I'll drink a Shirley Temple. Those things fucking slap. But I feel like some of my friends who do drink and do some of that stuff, don't really want to be around me anymore. And I think that anyone can have a choice to not be friends with someone, for any reason,
Absolutely.
and life changes, and that might not be the only reason. I get that we're getting older and differences happen and just lifestyles change, and so sometimes friends are going to come and go, but it's been a little bit hard losing some friends over that. And I just don't drink alcohol because I don't want to, which I'm really glad I don't have an issue or anything with, but it's been hard. And it's like, wow, that would have been crazy if I did have an addiction or if I did have a problem and then I lost so many friends. You start to realize, like, who really wants to be your friend or who really wants to hang out with you.
Absolutely.
And for a long time, I wanted people to hang out with me, and I didn't realize I wanted people to be my friend. And it took me a long time to realize that there is a difference of people wanting to hang out with you or to be your friend. Because if someone wants to be your friend, it doesn't really matter what you're doing when you're hanging out. You're with that person, you're talking to that person, you're being there for that person. But sometimes people just wanted to go out.
Absolutely.
You
I know.
know?
I mean, we were literally just making friendship bracelets the other day for for fun, just because, I mean, we love Taylor Swift, so it's fun to just kind of hang out and do
Yeah.
something simple like that, because at the end of the day, we're really all trying to just be happy, and maybe we feel a little bit of that childhood, stuff that we didn't, we were talking about earlier, like we don't get to do sleepovers and stuff like that, like when we were kids. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's just fun to hang out and chit chat, and having people around you that you can do that with, because
Yeah.
that's really hard to find these days.
Yeah, and be who you are around people. I feel like with the modeling and acting, when I go to a gig, I do put on my persona. I'm still the same person, but I'm more professional, I'm more elegant, I'm more proper, which if you're going to work, you do change a little bit. Almost everyone changes when they're in their work environment. But when I've met other actors or other models and I tell them what they do, a lot of them don't take me serious, and they're not into the stuffed animals or into the anime or into the cosplaying and stuff like that, which sometimes there is. I'm not going to say it doesn't always happen, but like I said, sometimes I get really childish looks and stuff like that, and it's just like, these are my hobbies, this is what I like, and I don't like some of the stuff that older people do. Like, if we don't have to like the same things, but I don't judge someone for being older and liking their people things.
Yeah, no, I
You
feel
know?
like today we cannot agree to disagree. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, like, if you don't like what I like, we can't be friends. And it's like, well, we're not in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like, we can like different things. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I own one stuffed animal, and I think it was because my dad gave it to me for Valentine's Day or something like that. And so, like, I'm not a big stuffed animal person, but I'm obsessed with your collection. Like,
Yeah.
it is so cute. Like, you have so many different
Yeah,
ones.
it's insane. I have almost 200, and a lot of them I thrift a lot, and I get a lot of that from my grandma, who's no longer here with me, and so that's a way I keep her alive and her spirit going.
Yeah,
I like to thrift around and find things, because stuffed animals can get expensive expensive. They're like $20 to $40 or if not more. And I like to find some for $50 or a dollar or 50 cents. 50 cents, not $50. I like to find some for like 50 cents or a dollar, you know, because I like to spend some money sometimes. And if I get a stuffed animal here or there that's 50 cents or a dollar, I don't feel like I'm spending a whole lot of money.
Yeah,
You know?
and I feel like that's like one of the other things we don't really talk about as women is like now that we're older, like we love stuffed animals, we love pink, we like Lisa Frank came back, and like let me tell you, like now that I have adult money, my husband's in a load of trouble because I was a Lisa Frank girly, like hardcore.
Yeah, super, super cool.
And I'm like, we can love that kind of stuff. We can talk about our bodies. We can do these kind of things. And like, we need to find a way to take that back. And I feel like this is step one.
Yeah, it's just talking about it. And even if this isn't 100% and we don't have everything looking professional and everything like this, I still feel like it's a valuable conversation, and we don't have to make it look 100% to be raw and honest in truth.
Absolutely. You know? I mean, like, this is just the beginning. Who knows? This could open up a thread of conversation of other women saying, like, hey, like, I feel the same way. Like, this is something that I'm experiencing, and I feel like now I can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of talked to you about it on a stream. If any of you guys are coming in from my Twitch, you guys know that I keep my Twitch very fun and silly, and I don't talk a lot about things that can be triggering or sad because I'm here to create a safe spot on the internet, and I really want everyone to feel included. But there is times where I do talk about sadness, or if I'm not feeling the best, I do try to talk to you guys about, like, I didn't feel great today because I didn't feel like I felt very confident and stuff like that. And it was probably about a month ago, I had said something very, very small on Twitch about it, and I was like, I am really struggling with my weight gain, you know. And then my community was super sweet, being like, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, which that can be a little bit harmful because I'm like, I never said, and again, I don't like the word ugly, but it's just like, sometimes I feel like sometimes people miss the point. Like, thank you guys for being sweet and kind and telling me that I'm beautiful. I love that, and it does help in some ways. But it's hard because sometimes I feel like I said, undervalued earlier, you know. And then the next morning I woke up from a message from a girl actually on my Facebook being like, I've seen you gain some weight and I've seen you talk about it and no one else does. And she's told me that it really meant a lot to her. And it was like, I had barely talked about it the other night, you know. And it was crazy to see that, like, it did affect one person. And that's what I like, is I might not be this superstar person on Twitch or YouTube, but I do feel like I am affecting some people, and that's what I want to do with my platform.
Yeah, even if just that one person like says, like, I feel like I can talk to you about this, or I feel like we can communicate, it gives that opportunity for a safe space. Because if we don't give the opportunity for a safe space, then there will never be a safe space, and people will and don't get me wrong, I know people are definitely going to have comments and things like that, you know, about the video and say different things. And, you know, I have my own version of self-esteem where I'm trying to work on things and deconstruct and, you know, build those positive mentalities. But it's really hard to do, especially when you're on the internet. I mean, I know I spend way too much time on the internet and I don't post myself as much as I used to. Like, I've cut back a lot on how much I post on social media, specifically because I was so focused on those negative comments. And a lot of us have that habit of focusing on all the negativity and not focusing on those positive comments that we often see, because a lot of times whenever we're looking through the needle in the haystack, you know,
and you'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find, because it's almost like we're looking for that, and we think it's constructive criticism or whatever we think it is, and it's just not.
Well, and for me, I'm like, well, if I think this about myself, I know someone else thinks this about me. You know, I think it was probably last month as well, I posted a picture of me in a pink dress, and now that I have gained a little bit of weight and I am more mid-sized girly, I guess, if that's what you want to call me. I don't like dresses. Dresses don't look good on me. I don't like them. I finally took a picture of one in it and I posted it on Twitter, and it actually did well. I got like over 100 likes, lots of comments. Thank you. And of course there was this one guy who was like, oh, you're fat, you're a whale. And I was like, that's all it took, was for one comment to be like, see, I knew it. I feel like I look fat and ugly and gross. But then I like looked through all the comments, and all of these other people are like, you're hot, I want to kiss you, mwah, mwah, mwah. And not in a weird way, those are some of my girlfriends, you know. Which I love my girlfriends. They're my biggest hype bitches, and they mean the world to me. But it is so crazy that like I had that kind of blow up a little bit on Twitter with so many nice things, but like you said, I found the needle in the haystack of someone being mean to me, and I let that eat me up. Yeah. Like, why do we do that?
Yeah, we really do. We let people on the internet affect us way more than the people in our circle. Mm-hmm. And it's scary to see how much power that one comment has over me, over somebody I've never even given the light of day to. And they're there. I mean, they're going to constantly be there. We just have to set those boundaries and set up those gates. I know a lot of people might say, you know, being closed up is a bad thing, but like, no, like you need to have those boundaries, because then you'll end up like a person who
you'll end up more like, and that goes back to being a people pleaser.
Yeah,
you know,
doormat.
Doormat. Yes, there's the word. And life is just so hard sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and so I really hope that this is kind of a way for us to stop that mentality of, yeah, you know what, she's beautiful, she looks great. I bet mentally she thinks that too. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where like we don't all see that mentally. We all see those negative aspects of our body, and we focus so much on that. And so I'm hoping that this kind of lets us, you know, we're all allowed to feel however we feel about our bodies, whether we are prim and proper or, you know, we're not. You know, we all have different versions of ourselves that exist, and we need to be able to accept those versions of ourselves.
But something that I've tried to help my friends with as well, and I try not to tell them that I'm doing this because I don't want it to get stuck in their heads, is I feel like when women are growing up, even as babies, it's, you're so cute, you look adorable, you look beautiful. But sometimes when boys are growing up, it's, you're strong, you're intelligent, you're smart. So like all of our whole lives we want compliments, but we're not really told anything about who we are as a person. We don't get compliments on our character. So now when I can compliment my friends, I try to tell my girlfriends that like, you're beautiful and talented, or you know, you have a beautiful voice, or I try to do something other than just how they look.
Something that's actually constructive and will actually give them a real compliment.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I do feel like when someone will say, oh, you're so pretty, it's like, yeah, like that's a nice, easy compliment. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like, can you like feed into that a little bit more? Like
when people tell me I'm funny, I'm like, yes, I work so hard to be funny. Thank you for saying that.
I know it's really rough, because we do as a society focus so much on beauty and what beauty standards are, and we have people who create these beauty standards, and then we're all trying to live up to them and get rid of those thigh gaps and hip dips, when realistically that's biology. Like we are grown women. Like we're formed to have babies. We're not formed to look like a child. Like that's just a completely different aspect of life, and it's just really hard. It's a struggle, especially because we're not allowed to feel self-conscious. We're not allowed to talk about how we feel self-conscious, and keeping that in all the time is so draining and so exhausting.
Yeah. And well, that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I told Ashley that this is something I've wanted to talk about for a while, but I just didn't know how to start. And she told me, she said, you start. You talk about it. You do it.
Get out there.
And I just really wanted to add, like, if you guys are someone in your mid-20s, or even if you are just getting into your 20s, this is just a reminder that women are women, and women are beautiful, and they're strong, and they're talented, and they're amazing. And I promise you, your weight does not define you. It doesn't matter if you're a 0 or a size 24. No matter what size you are beautiful. And I know it's so hard to hear that sometimes, and it's hard for me to say sometimes, because it's so hard for me to believe it in myself sometimes. And thank you guys for being here, and thank you guys for hearing us out. This has just been a really good experience.
Yeah, no, I honestly feel so much better just talking about it, because it, like I said, like, holding it in all the time is just so overwhelming and so exhausting. And so being able to say, hey, like, this is how I feel. What tips and tricks do you have to feel better? Or like, what is your experience and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It opens like a dialogue that we didn't even know we really needed.
And we've talked about tips and tricks a tiny little bit, but if any of you guys who are listening, if you guys have a tip that really works for you, please let us know. I try when I'm brushing my teeth to just look at myself and be like, you are pretty, you are smart, you are talented. Like, self-affirmations are so important.
So important. And I honestly, like, at first, I kind of thought it was silly. Like,
yeah.
I really was like, no. But like, it helps me like every day. Even if I have, I'm a planner girly. I love to digital plan. And so I have this little section and it says intentions. And then on the other side, it says affirmations. And so intentions are more so something that like you seek out for the day, something that you kind of expect almost to happen, and something, you know, you kind of want to do. At least that's kind of how I do it for me. And then affirmations are kind of something that I say about myself. Like, I say, like, I have a great smile, or maybe I can go more in depth and like say something like, I love how vulnerable I've been this week, or something like that. Because I feel like when we say affirmations, we really want them to be very specific, because if you say like a super simple or like super broad affirmation, it almost just doesn't feel quite as intentional.
Yeah.
But if you like really get in there and find something, like for me, being a people pleaser is so hard. So like when I set a boundary for myself, like I pride myself on setting that boundary. I celebrate, congratulate myself, because that's hard.
I'm gonna
like,
have to start
difficult.
congratulating myself on that, because I feel like there's so many of us who are big people pleasers, and setting boundaries is hard. But like you said, if you can do it, you can do almost anything else, and you got to congratulate yourself on that.
Yeah, because it's crazy. I feel like it's almost harder for me to set a boundary for myself than to set a boundary with like another person. Like, it's so easy for me to like commit to like talking to somebody about like, hey, you hurt my feelings or something like that. But like when I tell myself I hurt my own feelings, like I do not listen.
Yeah, and it's like, why are we like that? Like, we are in our own bodies, and we need to be kind to ourselves. Okay, Ashley, so let's talk about something we haven't had a chance yet to talk about.
Sure.
That can be a little bit triggering and a little bit hard to talk about. So we're going to talk about mental health. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about like setting friends with boundaries and weight gain and all of that. How has all of that affected your mental health?
It's affected me in a lot of different ways. I think whenever we look at it from an outsider's perspective, we really kind of see ourselves in a different way, because we focus so much on the way we look from our own point of view. And we really get into the aspect of trying to force ourselves into these molds that don't really exist. And so whenever I was forcing myself into this mold, I could really feel myself just like, almost like it got really difficult to kind of reach out to people and to kind of say, like, because people do make remarks, and you, even if they don't make remarks, you're afraid they're going to make remarks. And so I really like started to distance myself from people, because I mean, I went from a size 4 to a size 10, and it may not sound like a lot to some people, but for me, like, that was a huge difference, and something that I was not expecting but should have expected, because women change. Like, we change constantly. And so I think that for me, with my mental health, it was just not knowing that that was going to happen, and really thinking that I was going to be a size 4 my entire life, or a size 2 my entire life, when realistically, like, that's not realistic. Like, that's not something that we should be holding ourselves accountable for.
Yeah.
And so I really saw my mental health really getting better once I started deconstructing what I considered to be perfection or like
Yeah.
beauty, or changing those beauty standards among myself. So I think that that's something that I would really kind of say helped me tremendously, is just really deconstructing that, and my mental health really kind of started to get a little bit better. I was going out more. Like, I don't wear shorts in public. Like, I probably haven't worn shorts in public in like 6 years. It has been a long time because I'm just really self-conscious. Even if it's 100 degrees outside, I'm still going to be wearing pants. They're just going to be thin.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where we have to kind of, and I actually bought some shorts that I'm going to take on my trip whenever I leave. And so who knows, maybe I'll wear them, maybe I won't.
I hope that you at least, I hope that you try to wear them.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely, it's like one of those things where, we see ourselves in this certain light, and it's really hard to push that aside and wear what we want to wear. I used to wear shorts and overalls and dresses and stuff. Yeah, like I used to wear stuff like that all the time, but now, like, I will only wear a crop top if my pants come up to like high-waisted and like
No,
that's it, because
it.
it's scary and
Yeah.
it's hard.
Well, for me, like I said, and it keeps going back to like the modeling and acting and pageants and all of that fun stuff that I used to do. I get photographers messaging me all the time like, hey, let's shoot, let's do this, let's do that. And I don't shoot or take pictures as much as I used to, not because I can't, or it's more of like I don't want to. Sometimes it's really, really hard to see myself in some of these pictures. I look back at all my pictures when I was a 0 or a 2, and I keep comparing myself to her, and I was like, she's 15 to 18 years old.
Child.
But I'm really lucky. I do have a couple photographers that I work with, and they know my angles, and they know how to make me feel beautiful and confident, even though I have some curves now.
Yeah, no, you have really like inspired me, because like I said, I went from a size 4 to a size 10. Like, I feel most comfortable in a size 10, and I did not wear double digits in pant size. And obviously for most people, like, oh, like that's not that much of a difference, but like for me it was a huge difference. And so being able to kind of accept that and say, okay, you know what, I still look good as a size 10, and seeing a lot of your photos and stuff online really helped me with that.
Yeah.
Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, we're all working on our self-esteem and different things, and so really seeing you empower who you are instead of letting it make you hide behind the curtains or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's super empowering.
And that makes me feel so good, and I'm trying not to hide, but it is hard when people say mean things and do things, and I'm trying really hard to like you said, break that mold and be happy with who I am. I gained a lot during COVID, when COVID was going on, and you just kind of had to sit at home for about 1.5 years. That's where a lot of my weight put on, so I went from being super skinny to gaining so much weight in 1.5 years, 2 years, so when I see people now that I haven't seen since before COVID, you can tell that they see it. Some people might not speak on it
in their face or in their eyes or something,
but like you can tell that you're thinking like, oh my god, this person sees me and they see that I've gained weight. Like, are they gonna go home and laugh about me or put it in the group chat? Because I know that I do have a little bit of following, and I do know that there is some people who do talk shit about me because of me being in a small town and she hasn't made it yet or things like that. And then it's like, well, I'm following my dreams and doing whatever I want, and if you're making fun of me, that's on you.
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't even talked to you since we were in like middle school or high school. You don't know me, you don't know what I've been through, and if you want to talk shit and say that I've gained weight, then that's fine.
Yeah, no, and I like Taylor Swift said, there's no worse person than someone who makes you feel bad about something you're excited about. And so whenever you are finally accepting and happy and good with yourself, it's really important to make sure that you keep that positivity and happiness going, because if you don't, nobody else will.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to be bitter. I never want to be mean. I never want to be a bully. I want to be happy and full of light, and I want to put good out into the universe.
Yeah, and
you know?
you've honestly built such a great community. I know it took me forever to join your Discord, and
No,
I
it's
finally
okay.
joined your Discord, and everyone was so sweet and so kind, and it's awesome. It really feels like I have a safe space for, like, if I'm having a bad day and I just want to see some funny cat photos or whatever is going on that day. You know, it's a great community to just kind of jump in and say, hey, you know, I need something to cheer me up. What you got?
Yeah. Well, and my internet friends really have my back, and it's crazy to think, like, past Serena never would have thought that I would be on the internet or have internet friends, because it sounds so crazy.
It does.
But some of my best friends are in, you know, Canada or different states, but they love me and they appreciate me, and this goes back to figuring out who your real friends are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there are people out there who will support you and who will love you. You just have to get out there and find them. I mean, not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone is going to be happy with what you're saying. Not everyone is going to feel
well,
the same
and then
way.
I had a guy on YouTube a few years ago say that I would never make it because I'm into the pink and the stuffed animals and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, if I'm not someone you want to watch, just move on to the next person. And if I don't make it because I'm into the pink or the stuffed animals, then I hope that I never make it if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you should be yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to be anybody other than me.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. And that's one of the things that I love about you is you really dive into the things that really make you who you are. Like you said, like your stuffed animals, the color pink, like your cosplay, like that's one of the things that I love talking to you about is, you know, the things that we have in common and the things that we love. And so it's really cool to have someone that you can kind of sit down and just talk about stuff like that and really be vulnerable. And, you know, I always say that we have different versions of ourselves, you know, and we show them to different people depending on who we're around. Like you said, when you're at work, you have a certain way. When I'm around my friends, I have a certain way I talk. When I'm around my grandma, I have a certain way that I act. Like,
Absolutely.
I definitely do not be acting the same way around everybody. And that's okay. Like, we shouldn't give all of ourselves to everybody because not everyone deserves all of us.
Yeah.
You know, we should be able to set boundaries and cut back and say, you know, this is the version of me that you need. This is the version of me that you deserve. This is who I am. And so you have to kind of just make sure that you're not giving, you know, yourself to people who don't deserve it. And
Facts.
So that's something that has been really difficult for me. You know, I've cut people out of my life and made some really hard decisions. And, you know, sometimes it's because of the things that they've said, the things that they've done, stuff like that. And so just having the ability to say, hey, like, sorry, but actually, no, not sorry, but
we're gonna get better at that, both of us. And even you right now, we have to get better about saying that we're not sorry.
Yes, I would have to say that's probably one of my biggest things is I will apologize to a chair if I bump into it. Like, and I need to like calm down and just say, hey, you know what? I am allowed to exist. I'm allowed to take up space.
Yeah.
And like that's something that we don't tell each other enough. And that's why I was so nervous to make this video because I feel like I'm not allowed to talk about this. I'm not allowed to take up this kind of space, but like I have feelings. I'm a person. Like I have thoughts and opinions, and I've now realized that I am allowed to take up space and I'm allowed to do that kind of stuff.
Well, like right before we started, guys, not to break the third wall or anything, but I told Ashley, I was like, are you sure that you want to do this? Because I'm scared that people might talk shit about us.
They will.
You know?
It's fine.
Like, I know that we're not plus size or we're not the textbook word ugly, which again, I hate that word, and I hate when people use that word, and I also hate the word hate. Those two words, hate and ugly, I don't like to hear them. But I told Ashley, I was like, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about stuff like this, and we
are.
both
we're allowed.
Yeah, we're allowed to talk about how our lives have affected us and how we've made it to this point in life that we're sitting here in these pink cute chairs talking to each other, and we're allowed to talk about our feelings and what upsets us and our boundaries and what's healthy for us and what's not healthy for us and how we've grown and how we've made mistakes, because neither one of us are perfect, none of us are perfect, you know, but we have to remember that today's a new day and we can always try to be better than we were yesterday. And that's something that I always try to promote in my streams and even in my real life. even in my real life, I try to tell my friends, you know, we're not littering, we're not doing stuff, we're gonna be good people. You know, I always feel like the only person that you should be comparing yourself to is who you were yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I need to work on that
Yeah.
because I compare myself to everyone and everything under the sun. And really, I should just worry about, you know, scooping out the garbage and making sure
Yeah.
I'm a better person tomorrow. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all we can control is who we are as a person. We can't control anything else around us, just our thoughts and opinions and things like that. So just making sure that what we say, and even though we may not always have, you know, the most positive or the most, you know, good thoughts to begin with, you know, it's important to make sure that we, you know, we try our best to do that and make sure that what we're protruding is positivity as much as we can. Because I'm definitely the type of person who's like, don't tell me to smile, because I'm not like,
Yeah.
That's one of the main things that I hate. Whenever I'm like in a bad mood or I'm upset, like I'm allowed to feel upset. I'm allowed to, you know, have that sense of like anger or whatever it is that I'm feeling. Because I feel like that's another thing as women we're not allowed to do, is really like dive into those emotions and really like express ourselves. Because if we do, we're dramatic or we're too much and
Or
we need to
she's
calm
crying
down.
again, or,
Yeah,
you
it's just
know.
things like that. And so that's why I was so excited to come here and kind of talk to you, because it's a healthy way of talking about who we are, and, you know, talking about the process of acceptance and becoming a woman. Because who knew it was going to be so freaking exhausting becoming a woman? Like, it's
Yeah.
intense, it's
When
scary.
you're a little kid, you want to grow up so fast, and then now you're growing up, you're like, I want to be a little kid again.
Yeah, no, really. And that's one of the things that I feel like I struggle with so much, is that I'm allowed to feel those childlike, you know, things, whether it's stuffed animals or Lisa Frank, or maybe I want to put beads on my shoes or bedazzle something. I don't know. But I'm allowed to do that. Like, that's something
Yeah.
as women, I feel like we're always told, no, you need to be professional and you
You
need
need
to
to
be,
grow up.
yeah, you need to be an adult. And it's like, I am an adult when I need to be, and I'm a
Yeah.
child when I feel like it, because we all have to have childlike fun here and there.
Yeah. And that's what it is to have a hobby, you know?
Absolutely.
Now, if my hobbies are more childish than yours, then it doesn't matter. I'm doing the things that I like, and you're gonna go fishing or play with your trains or your airplanes or whatever you like. You're gonna do that, and I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's not hurting anybody. I'm so tired of everyone judging each other for the way that they look or the things that they do, you know?
Absolutely. It's just and it's hard because we try to find people that have things in common with us. And so when you can't find people that have things in common with you, you kind of force yourself into either different hobbies or different activities and stuff like that. And so I feel like for me, like you said, like having internet friends, like my husband has had gaming besties that I call them besties, but he's had his gaming bros for like the last 10 plus years, and they have such great relationships with each other. It's really interesting to see my relationship with them grow, because, you know, we've been together for 10 plus years. We've been together 12 years now. And so it's really interesting to kind of see each other evolve in that kind of way, and really getting to know his friends and allowing them into my circle and become my support group, because they're great guys. I mean, they've never like made me feel any type of way in a negative way or anything like that. And so it's important to just kind of make sure that when you're out there, making sure you're still setting those boundaries.
And that's really cool that they do that, especially in the gaming space, because the
It's
gaming
scary.
space can be very toxic.
Yes, I have played so many different things. Like I played Call of Duty, and that was super toxic. Went to Valorant, and whenever I can get a group of girls in there, it is so exciting, because the guys in there can be so rude. Like, they'll say things like, why do you have so many skins when you suck at the game? And I'm like, I'm not here to sweat. I'm just here to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, why, you know, and we all have different aspects in that. And that's another thing, being a woman in the gaming world, that's crazy. Like, I have had so many instances where I've had to either like mute my chat or mute what I'm seeing, like in Rocket League. Like, why are like it, and just another day, another talk, because that's like a whole nother
Yeah,
story.
and it's sad, and I've been there, done that. As a streamer, I've seen it all, and that's why we have lovely mods to ban, block, delete.
Yes.
We're out of here.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. Respect your boundaries. And also, before I forget to talk about anything else, please, please, please remember to respect other people's boundaries. We have talked about a lot about self-love, self-growth, how to put your own boundaries up, what it looks like to make sure you're taking care of your own boundaries and your own thoughts. But we really haven't talked about respecting your friends' beliefs, thoughts, boundaries. And a lot of that is you're going to have conversations with the people in your life. And I think it's healthy to have good boundaries with everybody, your family, your friends, your partner, and all of those are going to be different. And I think a lot of that goes back to love languages. You need to know how to love your partner the way that they need to be loved, but you also need to know how to love your siblings the way that they need to be loved. But it does need to be the other way around too. Your partner, your friends, your coworkers, whoever you're hanging out with and pouring into, they need to pour into you the way that you need to be loved as well.
Absolutely. I feel like we all have different expectations from our friends. And when we're not clear about those expectations, feelings can get hurt, there can be misunderstandings and stuff. So it's super important to be super clear on what you expect from them, whether you're expecting them to text you every day or you're expecting them just to show up when you need them. We all have different things that we want out of friends, and it's important to know what you want out of a friend and to know what you need, because we all need different things. We all have different ways of going about life, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just, you have one path and someone else has another path. And so it's important to agree to disagree and say, hey, I'm so sorry I did that, because I've noticed that that's one of the hardest things to do, is to own up to your mistake, whether it's something you said, something you did, and saying, hey, I see that what I did was wrong, and I see that what I'm saying isn't constructive and it's really hurtful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's something that we don't do enough. I feel
Absolutely.
like we get so defensive so easily.
And then you want to be like, well, you did this, and it doesn't matter like what the other person did. Like if someone is being vulnerable and telling you that you did something, you do need to apologize. But I also think it's hard, like you said earlier, it's really hard to go to someone and be like, you made me feel like shit.
Oh yeah.
And
the phones and being on social media and having our heads down all the time, I feel like that's one of the reasons, we don't have conversations anymore. We don't, I work with kids a lot, and they're quick to say like, why'd you say that? Or you hurt my feelings, or anything like that. And as adults, we struggle with that kind of stuff, being open and honest. And so sometimes
I think
wish
we're just scared that we don't want to hurt our feelings or have hard conversations because we don't want our friends to get upset and leave us, or things like
absolutely. I think that whenever we focus so much on, oh, well, what if they don't want to be my friend anymore? What if they don't like me anymore? Don't want to hang out with me anymore? And it's like, well, then don't be their friend. Like, they don't deserve your space. Like, they don't deserve to have you in their life, because that's something that we all deserve. We all deserve to be able to be open and honest. And like, talking to you, it's been super helpful with me, having somebody to compare and say, hey, I feel the same way.
We feel less lonely.
Yeah, and so whenever you have someone you can kind of share that mentality with, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And so guys, if you guys take anything from today, just remember you are valued, you are loved, you are appreciated, but always try to be better. And that means who you are as a person, how you are as a friend, who you are in a relationship. Like there's so many different yous. Like Ashley said, you give yourself to different people in different ways, but just remember to always try to be better and always give yourself grace and forgiveness, because we are going to be mean to our friends. We are going to say hurtful things. We're going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And you're going to want to put your freaking foot in your mouth and you're going to be like, why did I say that? But do not be afraid to apologize.
Yeah, you got to step up. You got to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe this is why I said that or something, because there's always a reason, and making excuses isn't the answer.
Yeah,
But
and
sometimes,
not I'm sorry I'm an asshole.
yeah, like, because
I'm really sorry that I said that, and I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings.
got to be honest about it. You got
Yeah.
to be willing to be vulnerable, because if you're not willing to be vulnerable with somebody, then they're not going to be vulnerable with you, and they're not
Yeah.
going to be honest with you.
And then it's like, why would I want to be friends with this person who can't apologize or can't be vulnerable, you know?
Absolutely. It's important to make sure that the friendships and the relationships that you're making in life are strong and honest, because if they're not, then you're going to end up in a world of mess, and it's just going to be another heartache. So it's important to make sure that you set those boundaries and make sure that you're saying those
The hard conversations.
yeah, saying the hard things that, we don't want to say, but we need to.
Yeah, I think it's
Because
important.
it's worth it in the end.
Especially if you want those people in your life.
Yes, if you want them to stay consistent. I feel like at our age we're trying to make these long-lasting friendships, and we want things to work. And friendships are like marriages. They take a lot of work. You got to make sure you're willing to own up to your mistakes and be honest with each other, because if you're not, that friendship is not going to last very long.
Well, I look at my little sister and think, she's one of my best friends, but I have made her so mad and she's made me so mad. But I want to have friends the way that I see my little sister a little bit, and if you're going to fight with your siblings, you're going to fight with your friends.
Oh, yes. The more you see each other, the more you're going to realize, okay, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit of conflict here. But, there's conflict no matter what. You just have to be able to be honest with each other, talk, and work it out. Because at the end of the day, we need our support system to really help with our mental health and make sure that, we're keeping up with ourselves and positive mindset and making sure that we keep going.
All right, cuties, before we go, we just wanted to say one more time, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for letting us have a vulnerable conversation. Again, this isn't something that I really post here on social media, but being able to talk about my weight gain, how I'm seen as a person, as a human, just all of that. I want to say thank you guys for listening, and just remember, no matter what size you are or who you are, you're loved and you're valued,
Absolutely. I think these days it's really hard for us to be honest about those kinds of things because we are afraid of what people are going to say back. But just remember, you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have emotions. You are allowed to be human, because at the end of the day, we're all experiencing the same thing, just in different ways. So I hope that this is a chance for you to open up and connect with other people who are also feeling that way.
Before we go, I'm going to have Ashley pull an affirmation card out of here, and she's going to read it to you guys. So just pick a random one.
All right, let's see.
This is going to be for the universe. This is for you guys. This is for all of us right here, right now.
Today, I am persistent. Today, nothing will stop me from accomplishing my goals. Nothing will stand in the way of my happiness.
That was a good one.
Like
Let me see it. Oh my god, I love that, guys. Nothing will stand in the way of my happiness.
So important. And let me tell you, body weight, self-esteem, that can sometimes stand in the way, but not today.
Not today.
Right now.
We are all going to go look in the mirror and we're all going to say that. Nothing can stand in my way of happiness. Thank you guys again for joining. If you guys liked the stream today, please feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys later. Bye, guys.
Bye.